Welcome to Operation End Times. I'm your Jedi warrior for Jesus, Ben Hellistead. This is the Building the Ark series, part 4. I'm going to call it Bloodlines, and we're probably going to have a couple of bloodlines. Let's say 3 bloodlines, because that's what we're going to see in this matrix I put together, is 3 bloodlines. We're going to try and jump right into it. Feel free to leave your comments, as long as you act nicely and politely, we can debate and discuss anything. But I know a lot of brothers and sisters out there, they're always saying, why are you looking at this, or why are you looking at that, bloodlines don't matter. And, I would just tell you, I can't say it enough, but, the deception is real. Even in Revelations, it says it gets to the point where it fools even the elect, so time has to be shortened. So having one eye covered or both eyes covered, not being able to see the fullness of God, that means you're looking at something else. You're not seeing God clearly, or you're looking at a false God. Now, in the 2 videos that I just got done putting up, the family tree, I was talking about David, where when he was returning to the city, Shimei, the mighty man who had done much wrong, David forgave him. But there was a son of some other dude that was saying, no, put him to death, hit him with that iron rod. God, I love the rod. It's real, I've testified to it. But to brothers and sisters that think that God is just this terrifying force that just is gonna, beat the hell out of the majority of mankind, I tell you what, whether he does that or not, you shouldn't be trying to frame up the future like that, because that means you're in the shadow, kind of only looking through one eye, And like, I'll give you an example. I'm gonna read a Bible verse, but a lot of brothers and sisters, they want to believe that at this end time event, because once again, it's the same cycle repeating itself, and that's what I've been kind of looking at. We're trying to stack them up in an eternal model, but right now we're actually looking at stuff in a linear fashion, because that's how the dark side sees everything, in a linear fashion. But, man, the dark side and a lot of people that think they're on the light side, they all think there's got to be this huge bloodbath, and, Satan, Lucifer, maybe that's what they want, a huge bloodbath. And there has been lots of blood spilt. If you are walking with God and you are looking at heaven and you've detached yourself from earth, having your blood spilt, really, it's to the glory of God. But that being said, God protects his own. But here's like how things get, twisted up, right? Like in Revelations 19, and this kind of matches up, I think, with some stuff in the book of Daniel and whatnot. But it says, God, I hate looking at these verses. I just had it marked up, but God, where the heck was it? Oh, it's in Revelation 19. And it says, oh yeah, I should just have it written down on a piece of paper. The computer's great, but sometimes if all of a sudden you lose track on your screen, it's like this break in the action. But anyway, Revelations 19:17. I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying unto all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great God. Now, most people, they kind of link that back to a huge bloodbath and actual vultures and crows and physical birds eating all the leftovers of this great battle where there's just blood and guts splattered everywhere. But that's not what that verse is saying. Verse 17, it's the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven. That's people, man, that have been elevated. that we're human and now have been transfigured and are at a higher spiritual existence, and they're coming to the supper, the marriage supper of the great God, Jesus Christ. So there's no blood and there's no guts. And how do I know that? Is because if you just backtrack up Revelations 19, just back it up a little bit. Revelations 19:9. So this is 9 verses prior. 9 and 9 is 18. Revelations 19:9. He said to me, "Right, blessed are they which are called to the marriage supper of the Lamb, the great God." And he said unto me, "These are the true sayings of God." So blessed are they that come to the marriage supper, the fowls that come to the feast, the great supper of the great God. It's all one and the same thing. It's not about blood and guts. It's all spiritual. But if that's all, if you have not broken out of your box, your labyrinth, and you just cannot visualize the spiritual, you're always putting it on a 3D carnal manifestation, like water has to be water, mountains has to be a literal mountain, birds are birds, they're never people, then you know what? You have a mountain in front of you, my friend, that you have to remove. So start praying right now to God to open your eyes, both your eyes, or the one that has the shadow cast across it, so you can either climb up the mountain or go around it, whatever it takes. May God bless you, and may your eyes be open. Maybe this video will help get you there. All right, bloodlines. Bloodlines in the long run probably don't mean a whole lot of anything, but I kind of set the stage. We're talking about Lucifer, who would not be a servant to Adam. He would not humble himself. His pride, his ego. Why? Because he was a lord, a ruler, a cruler of the earth. He had already taken down the earth. And that sets up like one of the first points of discussion we have. It's kind of like Adam and Eve. Were they the first humans, or were there already people on earth? I'm going to go with there already were people on the planet, and that earth had already gone through a bunch of these cycles, because that's just how it is. Repetitive cycles, circles over and over and over again of the same experience. And unfortunately, all the previous ages, hundreds of thousands of years, whatever, legends of Atlantis and whatnot, the cycle always repeated, and it always had the same conclusion, which was the rulers tried to make themselves God and forgot God, and the cattle, the masses at the bottom, just got destroyed, and they were in darkness too. They were cattle being led astray by the crullers in the deep water, and the earth continually going into darkness, and manifesting the result of that darkness, which was destruction in a whole slew of different ways, but it always happens in a sicklier nature, spiritual waters flowing out, cleansing, earthquakes, physical manifestation for sure, actual flooding of water, crazy weather, the whirlwind, So Adam and Eve, were born into a world that had just gone through that big cycle, because the earth was void and smooth again. The mountains were made low and the valleys were raised up. So I made this matrix. It's confusing as heck. Probably looking at it from the distance. It is a family tree out of the Bible, and I actually had to go to some other books, the book of Jasher, the book of Enoch, and the book of Jubilees, because the Bible, there's a huge conspiracy going. But what I got is, I got the 3 family branches on this piece of paper. This is the line of Seth, right here, the bottom line. I'm sorry. Okay, this top line is the line of Cain, and then this very top line is the line of Abel. Abel was killed, but he represents a spiritual line, so it's everybody that's grafted in on the branch on a spiritual level, all the Gentiles. So Abel's lineage is actually the multitudes that can't be numbered, because it is us being grafted into the family of God on a spiritual level through the line of Abel. He was the shepherd of the flock. He was the first example of someone walking with the Christ head. So anyway, what this is, this chart is coded. Yellow means a person was walking in light. So Abel was in the light. Blue means they're in darkness. Green is a mention of a woman on the timeline. And that is one of the big secrets that is going on here, my friends. But as you can see, Adam and Eve, I've marked them down as people that were in the light and went to the darkness. Cain as someone that was in the light, went to the darkness. And Eve is the only woman mentioned in the Bible by name, the wife of Adam. And then, see this timeline? It flips over. And then this is the family tree of Noah coming off of the ark. And it actually goes across the page. It goes across the page as well, but you get down over here and that's where Abraham and Sarah is. But Sarah is the next woman mentioned by name in the Bible. So what I will tell you right there is the Bible, there's a complete cover-up of women, you know, Eve and Sarah. So all this other green that you see on this chart, green in there, and then on this is the chart right here from Adam down to Noah. All this green in here is stuff I had to go get outside of the Bible. So I'm just going to look at the chart, but here's how it works. Is Adam knew Eve, and they had Cain who killed Abel. Cain left Eden into the land of Nod. People tend to think like he wandered off and never came back, but I say he probably walked about 5 miles to the land of Nod. So it was probably no more than a stone's throw to his parents' house of Adam and Eve. Now, there is a debate here. You know, once again, was the world populated? Was the world not populated? Under the world was not populated, then under this Adam and Eve family tree, what you're going to find out is there's basically like incest, people having sex with their sisters, maybe even their mother. I am going to go with the theory that there were people on the earth, so there wasn't as much incest as possible. But if you think about it, if there are no people on the earth and there is incest, having sex with your sister or your mother, it's not really an evil thing, because for the survival of mankind, you know, it has to be done. And, you know, we find it elsewhere in the Bible, like in the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, when the brimstones and the destruction came down on Sodom and Gomorrah, and Lot and his wife and his 2 daughters once again, you know, and that's this sacred feminine bloodline that we're going to be looking at. As they came out of Sodom, it was his wife who was the carnal thinker, who turned back her 3D mind, and she turned into a pillar of salt. But Lot got up into the hills, into a cave with his daughters, and then they said, let's have sex with our dad, incest, to continue the family line like there was nobody else on the planet. But guess what? There was Abraham and all his family line. And actually there was people wherever there was around the earth except for Sodom and Gomorrah. They got destroyed. So guess what? What Lot's daughters did with him was shadowy. It was not to the glory of God. And that's kind of what I believe is what's going on here, is that that if there is incest, if there is incest, and there is, because several people are marrying their cousins. Well, and, you know, the Egyptians would marry their sisters. And one guy, I think, did marry his sister. But if there are other people on the planet, then incest in the family is a negative thing, because you got no excuse. You can go outside the family. But what you find is, you know, most of the teachings, you know, especially for the descendancy of Seth, or the sons of God, even though they were men, mankind, was not to marry outside the family. Stay within the family. It was considered actually bad to go outside the family. Now, what I'm going to tell you is these two family lines, the line of Cain and the line of Seth, they were pretty close to each other. And I'm going to show it to you, because it's known by the names, because families name people after people. Like I was named after my uncle, or I'm named after my grandfather. And that's what you see. What we're going to see in this lineage is not only are these children named after their fathers and their uncles, but there are daughters being swapped from the line of Seth up into the line of Cain to be married. And there's something else going on there as well. I'm trying not to go over 15 minutes here. That's what happened to my video yesterday. I had to split it in 2. But I'm going to throw out a huge nugget for you to contemplate on. But with Adam and Eve, Cain left and met his wife. So people argue over whether he had sex with his mother or his sister. I'm going to say neither, that he had sex with an angel. a fallen angel that manifested as a woman, because the sons of God are both male or female. They have a choice where they can manifest as either or possibly both. And just like when the Bible is doing the men begatting men and no mention of women, that's what's in the King James Version, men begatting men and mankind having sons and daughters. Well, daughters are female, and even though there's no mention of wives or mothers, guess what? They were there and they existed even though they weren't mentioned. So likewise, mankind is both men and women. The sons of God is a race of beings, and it is both men and women. All right, hey, stay tuned.